Yeah,
what a good way to start off an episode with a big old fat belch.
We can take that off. Or we could not. Okay, this episode, we are going to talk about 80s action movies.
Yes! Welcome to the Lele and Mikey show.
Hello, everyone.
She brings it, I wing it.
We are here, and we want to talk to you.
I already have all these lines coming through my head. Come to me if you want to live.
Oh, there we go.
Although, was that early 90s? Or no, that was late 80s, right?
I think it was still late 80s.
Okay, all right.
I think it was.
I love the 80s. Hey, so I was born 1984, youngest of 5 kids. So technically I'm a 90s kid, but I was exposed to a lot of 80s stuff because I was younger and I had other siblings stuff going on. I still remember vividly a cassette tape that my sister owned that I listened to a lot, and it was a Madonna cassette tape.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a prayer. Showed Madonna's nice belly buttons, midsection exposed with like some beads.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of good stuff came out of the 80s. I mean, honestly, you can say good stuff comes out of every decade, right?
Yes.
But music-wise, and anyway,
I'm just saying,
it's a great decade.
There's nothing like an 80s action movie.
Yes.
And even earlier this evening, it's almost like he intuitively knew. Conversation came up about Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And
we had mentioned Aliens in a previous episode. We talked about childhood trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
This one just keeps coming
I brought up the fact that I was
we got to see
totally
some of that.
blown away by aliens when I was like 8 years old, and I recently showed my 13-year-old son the movie, and I was inwardly giggling and smiling inside, even though my wife was probably really mad. She was. She found out after that. I'm like, just want to get this out of the way.
Yeah, and I
let him watch Aliens with me.
I'm sure
You did what?
I'm sure she was just tickled.
Oh, pink. Pink.
And I'm sure he was, what were the comments he was making?
This is really intense, Dad. He literally turned to me in the middle of the scene, Anyway.
So we were talking about even that earlier about how, they just don't make things the same as they used to. I mean, they didn't have...
Don't say that. Now we sound old. I'm finding myself saying things that old people said when I was a kid. They don't make it like they used to. When I was your age, cars were made out of steel, not aluminum.
Well, I mean, they were.
But I'm just saying we're saying the same kind of things.
Yeah, you're right. What we heard.
I'm trying to avoid that because I don't want to be that guy at almost 40 that's like, crap.
True. But I mean, they didn't have the special effects, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have the same kinds of things that we have now, the computer capabilities.
But you know what they did nail really good that I feel like they don't do as good now?
What?
The cheese, man.
Oh,
they did cheesy, and they did it with pizzazz, with flair.
Heck yeah. So, I just want to say, there were things that you kind of noticed just kind of happened in action movies in the 80s. You definitely do the one-liner. We were all about the one-liners. Give me a couple, Michael.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good job. Give me another. Can you think of one, or did I put you on the spot?
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Oh, yeah. What about, Sylvester Stallone? You got any Rocky for me?
Adrian!
There we go.
I was like, it took a second. I was like, oh no. I'm getting panicked. I'm like, what did Sylvester say?
And then, of course, Sigourney Weaver was, get away from her, you
You crazy bitch.
Yeah, I mean...
While she's in, a mech.
Heck yeah. That was the first time a girl who wasn't, she was just, a normal tough girl, a girl who's not some freaking, loaded muscle machine.
She was just Space Lady.
Who stepped it up. She was smart, and she brought it. She was, an action figure hero person, and she didn't there was nothing slutty or anything about her. I respect that.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the first time that was done, where a girl went in like these kind of situations and just literally kicked butt like an action guy hero.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I love her. And I mean, I know it's not part of the genre, but Ghostbusters, always close to my heart.
Well, and then in action movies, when I was little, I would fantasize about being a ninja.
Oh,
and I loved karate. So movies like Bloodsport and oh man.
What about don't forget about Chuck Norris movies?
Oh. Good old Chucky.
Oh yeah, you got to get all over the Chuck Norris.
Yes.
I remember there were a lot of those that we watched. And then Jean-Claude Van Damme. What is it? Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Dude.
Apparently you cannot speak French. His name is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, sorry, that was really
But
bad.
although, if I remember right, I think he's Canadian. Like, he's from Quebec. I don't think he's from France.
I don't know, but he was in Bloodsport. I just remember that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm just saying, he was there. And then, we had our guys. Like you said, we had Sylvester Stallone. Let's not forget about Mel Gibson. Lethal Weapons.
The Lethal Weapons.
Lethal Weapons.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And we also had Bruce Willis. Die Hard.
I brought that up. Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Heck yeah. And
it's like a Christmas tradition now. It's literally a Christmas movie because they are celebrating the holidays on that fateful evening when terrorists raid the building.
Hell yeah. And, of course, my crush since Star Wars, we had
Dan
our
Aykroyd?
Harrison Ford.
I'm just kidding. I started saying Dan Aykroyd before you started saying Star Wars. Ghostbusters.
No, Harrison Ford, dude. Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones series is actually my very favorite action series, like trilogy.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
But I feel like there's a lack of consistency. Some movies are really good and others are like, okay.
Hey. But when they were good, they were so good. I mean, think about it. Okay, Raiders of the Lost Ark, for sure, hands down best. But think about the one that had Sean Connery. What was it? The cup of Christ.
The one that had the Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail was the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, but I'm talking later. Then we had Sean Connery play his father, and they were looking at the Holy Grail.
There was the Lost Ark, and then there was the Holy Grail. Yeah, you're talking about the episode. Though.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about they're not episodes. They're movies.
You're the one with a computer. You have internet access. Why am I turning my phone on so we can remember?
I don't know.
All fans of these shows are going to hate us, right? I'm like, you guys are so dumb. I'm still okay because you had the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, but that's the second one.
I know Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom.
God, why can't I remember? It's the freaking. It's got
Ladies
the blonde
and
chick.
gentlemen, we suck.
The sad part is I didn't put it in my notes because I wouldn't think that I'd forget
You
it.
would definitely never ever forget that.
It's like one of those things where this is my favorite,
and we're going to drag our audience through.
Okay, we're not going to do
1 or 2 minutes of trying to recall the day movie while you're all thinking about it and being like, gosh. So we're just going to move on.
When it comes out, it will.
You know what it is. Okay, you know.
Okay, we also...
The Last Crusade.
Thank you.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. See, I'm not a total idiot.
I just did a bow. I literally bowed to him. Thank you. And
it was the very beautiful full circle moment where it actually came together. About 3 minutes too long, but it did.
Sorry about that, guys. It's like one of those things when it bugs because you just can't remember it.
Yeah, and at least it was relatively quick.
It could be worse.
I've had a week later, random conversation with someone. I'm like, we're talking about the weather, and I'm like, it was this band! It was this band I was trying to remember a week and a half ago.
Yeah, we had the Last Crusade, man.
So we had the Raiders of the Lost Ark, And then we had the Temple of Doom, and then we had the Last Crusade. And then there's been a couple movies after, which have honestly been a little meh.
Yeah. Anyway, it was my favorite. Like, in that music, like, freaking the music from Indiana. Yeah.
Actually, just like
that's amazing.
Like I mentioned in the last episode, I went to Disney with my kids, and one of my good friends for over 2 decades, he came with our family, and he never got the Disney magic as a child.
Oh.
He was literally in his early 40s and experienced Disneyland for the first time.
Heck yeah.
So we took him on the Indiana Jones ride.
Heck yeah.
And I love that thing because they expose you to different parts of the movies. Or like the bugs down on the wall for like the Temple of Doom.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got like the little darts that the air that blows past your head. Like anyway,
it was fun. So
epic movies.
Okay, so yeah, those are my faves. Do you have a fave of like an action trilogy?
An action trilogy from the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
80s movies that I loved. Oh, you know what was a really good one though?
Huh.
Lady Hawk.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the music.
I mean, we're a little more on the like fantasy side.
Yeah, but it was still action. You're right, and that dun, 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 it was like so bad 80s.
The mouse,
like
the mouse got out of the house.
It's a great movie, but the music. I'm just saying, the music was a little like the soft music was great, but the action music, I could see how kids our not age, could listen to it and like literally laugh at us. Yeah. I don't know if you remember what it sounds like, but it's
I'm just
bad,
saying
guys.
They mastered the cheese. The cheese is really good.
Heck yeah. And then we got RoboCop.
Oh, I almost forgot about those.
I
remember those were like movies I had to sneak over at friends' houses and watch because it was violent and had swearing in it, right?
Not allowed at our house.
RoboCop. Yeah, there were quite a few. There was at least 3 of those movies, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, don't forget Kurt Russell. We have Big Trouble in Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China.
That was a good movie.
That was a good one.
And wasn't like Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile like in the 80s or
Romancing the Stone?
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone?
I mean, I think that fits
Is it Romancing the Stone or Romance of the Stone? I think it's Romancing the Stone.
It's Romancing the Stone. Yeah, okay. You're romancing it.
Yeah.
And, she was a romance novelist. So, I mean, I think it was the wordplay there, right?
The wordplay,
The
indeed.
wordplay. So, okay, another thing that was in the 80s movies that you can't, you don't have time to bleed or die or show pain. Like you get ripped halfway in half and you're still going to get up and just like snarl and be like, I'm going to get you. Yeah. I mean, come on. It was a thing in the 80s. Like you just don't show like true human weakness. It's just not allowed in an action hero.
Of course not.
Yeah, no matter how many times he gets hit. If you think back on some of the shows we watched when we were kids, there's times those guys just shouldn't have gotten up. I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
right.
You, of course, have to do the training montage. Like, we have to see where, they're jogging or they're pumping the iron or they're practice shooting the gun. Like, you got to have that in there, that training montage.
Yeah.
It was there. It's
part of the buildup. I mean, even in the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And, you don't bring a rookie to die. Like, how many action movies back then had the dying rookie?
Yeah.
That was in, pretty much every...
The Rook is definitely going down, for sure. He's going to make that stupid mistake.
And, I mean... Smoke them if you got them. It wasn't exactly anti-smoking. I'm just going to say. These guys would go blow stuff up and then they would pull out a cigar or a cigarette and take a big old puff and you're just like, oh, you're so cool.
Well, that's back when Camel Joe was cool,
Oh, I forgot about that. When they had commercials.
The advertising,
the
right?
Camel Joe.
You had the candy cigarettes and all that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I forgot about those two. I think, didn't we try to like actually light those on fire? I think we did.
I'd like to just say that we didn't.
Oh, but I think
I
we
was
did.
the youngest, and I will plead the fifth and say I was young and innocent and had no part in that garbage.
We did. And then, of course, you can't go on vacation or retire. Like, how many of them are like, I'm going to retire. And then...
Well, it's even John Wick. Even like modern, ones.
Yeah, well, I think some of them kind of just
I think I'm officially back.
Or, I'm going to go on vacation, man. Like, famous last words.
Yeah, the bad guys will follow.
Heck yeah. And then, there was always somehow, a lot of the times, a Russian bad guy.
Big Russian boss. Get. Once again, we're talking John Wick here.
Well, I mean, I just
There's
noticed.
lots of crime bosses from Russia and the United States of America. You know what I mean?
And then, you got to have the awesome hench bros.
The henchmen.
The henchmen, I mean, like, I don't feel like they do that as much now.
Of course they do.
I don't know. I don't feel like they do.
The equations of awesome action are the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah. And then there's the whole don't say you're not from here. Since they're like, I'm not from around here. Like, then everything goes.
Who's this guy? What's he up to? Someone called the bad guy in the area. I'll let him know there's someone out of character here.
And I mean, let's be honest, there was a lot of cocaine. Like, you'd go into a room with bad guys.
Hey,
there were Russians and there were cocaine.
Hey, they're drinking a little alcohol, smoking a little cigarette, snorting a few lines, And
there was always...
What else would you spend your money on if you're a crime boss?
I mean, yeah, like...
Nintendo?
You could spend it on a lot of things, like a yacht and world trips. And,
well, they have yachts that they snort coke on.
Of course. And then, I'm sorry, that was pretty good, Michael. You have a valid point. But wherever they were,
yeah,
it was there. So, you also have the whole... like geeks versus jocks kind of thing that would happen too in the action movies back then.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like happen as much now, but maybe I'm just not watching enough action movies. Am I missing
Come on,
that?
you have like the geeky, losery kid that gets made fun of that fights back.
Yeah.
AKA the Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah.
There's been newer versions of that.
The thing is, I don't feel like he was really a geek. Does that mean that I'm just a geek? Like, just tell me. Does that mean I'm a geek?
I don't know.
Probably.
I am not the geek barometer, here.
Probably. And then...
I mean, if you talk like this and you push up your glasses, then you might be a superhero.
Yeah. Back to the Future. I don't know if you can consider that. I don't think it's quite action movie. But, we had that whole geek thing going on then.
Yeah, well, you had the guy that got bullied.
Yeah, that's a thing. You're right. It's a thing.
But that was just, that wasn't necessarily like...
Yeah, but I feel like they did a little more back then.
Okay.
And then I feel like there's always that scene with whatever they're fighting. There's one that's like extra big and extra tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the boss
the big bad guy they got to take out.
Yeah, like every single time. I literally sat there thinking to myself, can you think of one 80s action movie where there wasn't some big, huge guy who got left behind, typically, to fight the hero guy? And you'd have like this epic battle with him. He'd be like, you guys go ahead. They'll jump on the chopper and the big guy's like coming at him. He's like, I'm going to get you.
Well, it's like in Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
The big tough dude that he ends up getting chopped up in an airplane propeller.
See? Yeah. Like there's always those guys. So I don't know. Like I was just reminiscing and I thought that it would be cool to talk about like some of them and what our favorites were. And also to point out some of the things that people don't think about,
Okay.
like stunt doubles.
The true unsung hero. Unsung? Is it unsung? Unstrung.
Unstrung.
String them up. The unsung heroes of the action movie.
Yes.
Can you imagine being at the movie theater and being like, that was me. That was not Tom Cruise. That was not Jean-Claude. That was me.
Well, and do you remember the times when you looked at it and you're like, that's not the actor?
You're like, pause the VHS.
Do you know
Wait a minute. Like, oh. Apparently he's got a mole in this scene.
You know what my favorite was?
What?
When it was a girl, but it was actually a guy with a wig and you could tell. Like there was
Are you saying there was a shortage supply of women stunt doubles in the 80s?
I mean, maybe.
Were we that sexist that long ago? Sorry. I mean, we can't use you. We got to use a guy. We don't feel like you could pull it off. Here, by the way, here's a wig.
So, a lady named Natasha Planok. Okay, I gotta say her name right. Natasha Plantikova. Natasha Plantikova.
That sounds very Russian.
Yeah, she must be.
Natasha Plantikova.
Speaking of
Russian.
But she pointed out, which I think is very valid, she said it's very hard to find lookalikes, back then, especially when you have to prioritize somebody's skill set. While that is a fact which remains true today, due to the various innovations in technology, there are ways to make stunt people look more like the actor they're doubling for, right? For example,
I'm eating chips.
Do it.
I feel like we're talking about movies. I got the case of the munchies.
Get it.
Gotta grab some Ruffles chips. They're not a sponsor, by the way.
No. But they can. We will Ruffles. They
have very tasty chips.
We accept sponsorship.
I'm sorry, Lele. That was like the interrupt of the century.
It's okay.
We're talking female stunt doubles.
Yeah, I can see. Oh, do we need to go there? No. Do we need to talk about sexism here? No.
Brought it up.
Anyway, so she. Well, no, I was just saying. There's a couple times I've seen girls in a movie that all of a sudden looked very masculine with a hair that looked a little less female.
Little he-she.
And yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's not quite.
Maybe too much testosterone?
Like, let's just
wearing a wig?
Pay attention to that. Pretend it's her. But so there's technology, right? There's silicone face masks, which are prosthetic materials molded after the actor's face that they can put on them now. And also the
high... they can just straight up CGI
Well,
their
that's what she brought up, too. Also the high production, even they've got the body 3D computer thing. And
well, I mean, they've finished movies that actors have died filming in.
Yeah, well, we're going to get there.
Out loud.
We're going to get there. But yes, and anyway, so, we have those kinds of things now, but we didn't back then. And then a guy named K.R. King brought up some very, I feel like his points were even more valid. There could be, many reasons, but the most critical one is they didn't have time, energy, or the budget to go out searching for stunt doubles who looked like the actors. So they did what they could. Hey, assuming
money
they cared
talks.
at all about the details.
If you can't cough up the dough, you got to improvise, right?
And think about this.
We really should get a double, but I've got $10 in my pocket. Well, hey, Charlie, put on this wig.
Do you dare to jump off?
I'll give you $10.
If you jump off here, you'll be in a movie, man.
The chance at stardom.
You'll be in a movie.
Unstrung hero?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe strung up hero.
Strung up hero.
So
one of these days I'll get my catchphrases right.
And I think
unsung.
Oh, there we go. You got it.
So, no, I mean I said unstrung on purpose there. But
I thought, yeah. So anyway, but he also brought up another point, which I feel like is the most valid. Like, it's hard enough now to find someone who looks anything like someone else, especially with a freaking skill set that they, need. And back then, we didn't have the internet. to go and be like, hey, let's look through all these people on the internet and find someone who
they
looks
literally
like
put out
Arnold.
like a photo and be like, okay, if you feel like you look any remotely close to this person, come show up and audition. And can you imagine how many failed actors showed up even though they didn't look anything like him? They're like, nope, not you. Oh. Are you serious? No, not you.
But if he could jump and flip and like bash his head into a wall, they'd be like, we can make this work. We can make this work.
Just sign this waiver.
Exactly.
We will not be held responsible.
So yeah, like, I mean, why sit there and go to all that trouble, especially back then? And, you know, if you were just lucky if you found a guy who was trained, like you said, how many times did they really look at this guy and say, hey, you want to try this? You know, we can strap
or they're
you
really
up.
thinking, who can we find that's really stupid? And apparently does not have a lot to live for.
Even worse. So, you know, dark side of that. I mean, stunt doubles don't get much, you know,
they don't get the credit, and they do some crazy, amazing stuff.
Yeah. And, you know...
but, you know, if you get paid enough, that could be a cool gig, because it's not like when you walk around everywhere, you got the paparazzi following you. Oh, it's the stunt double of so-and-so, right? So you can roam freely with that fat paycheck and be like, hey, nobody knows.
Heck yeah.
But I'm Tom Cruise. I'm Harrison Ford. I'm Jean-Claude.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
Arnold.
Yeah, I know. You're right. You have a valid point there. A guy named Kurt Coat. I'm not good at those French names. Coati. Anyway, he was a 25-year veteran of the film industry, and he brought up the point that stunt performers have 100% injury rate.
Oh, I'm sure. I imagine they'd have to pay them really well because of the risk they put themselves in.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a reason why it's such a big deal that like Jackie Chan does his own stunts, because it's so unheard of, because most people aren't willing to take the risk because it's not a matter of if but when, right?
Yeah. And then didn't they say, like, I swear, I watched a thing about him where they said he's broken almost every single bone in his body.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like, it just happens. So, like, these guys sign up for that.
Do they have like schools for this? No, I'm actually serious.
Are you ready to go to stunt double school?
Because I know the level of skill and the crazy things that they do. You wonder, how does someone wake up one day and they're like, I'm going to be a stuntman. I'm going to pretend to be someone else and do something that could potentially kill me.
I know, right?
For money. Like, they got to be that crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I have to be kind of like the thrill seeker type, right?
Adrenaline
Who's
junkie,
just like
for sure.
ready to go. I know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying you have to have a bit of that, because especially back then, I mean, we are a lot safer now. Like, they cable people up real good now. Before it was like, okay, dude, you jump right there. There's this big old blow up air cushion thing, and it'll catch you. It's like 35 feet down.
It's okay. They're really soft.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you land in the right spot,
I feel
everything's good.
I feel like that's a minimal risk situation, Lele.
Okay.
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
No, things can go wrong.
Okay, can I just say, this is not me. This is not my profession. I'm the kid that's trying to like get the balls to jump off the high dive at the pool so my friends won't make fun of me when I was a kid, you know? And growing up, I did not take risks. I was not some crazy stunt seeker after or adrenaline. I mean, I got enough adrenaline from playing Nintendo.
There you go.
So
hey, when he could go under the water, that was like the coolest thing. Like, really, like when
who could
Super
go under
Mario,
the water?
he could like
the swimming.
Yeah, like the Little Mermaid, he tell feet. Sorry, I love the little sound.
I just love how you went to the swimming thing. Like,
I'm sorry. When I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can swim underwater in this. That is so cool. All right, yeah.
Does Mario
how old does that say I am?
Stuntman?
How old?
Does the Mario stuntman do the underwater swimming scenes?
And how often does he really come up afterwards, right? So, they've got catastrophic accidents. We're talking helicopters going down, different things that can happen, head injuries. They, like a lot of them, I guess, get into substance abuse, anxiety, depression.
I wonder why. I might die tomorrow, but hey, I can pay my rent.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to go to that trip to Mexico.
Well, I know. And like think if they're all like, okay, ready? You're going to jump out of this helicopter. You're like, where's the cocaine? I mean, not that I've done cocaine, but I could see.
Well, I'm also guessing, too, that with the increase in CGI capability and effects, maybe it's not as dangerous as it used to be. I'm sure there's still crazy situations, but back in the day, in the 80s, there's only so much they could actually get away with. So I'm sure the stuntmen of that decade probably took a lot more risks than the ones now.
Yeah.
Because to film that perfect scene or that shot, I mean, they probably really have to do something crazy, whereas now they can green screen it or whatever.
Which is like one of the reasons that I think that 80 films, like 80s films, deserve some like special respect. And I mean, like, they've actually started speaking, how they've gone with, like, how football players can get head trauma and stuff, and they've started, caring about that stuff. Well, it's kind of started to cross over a little into the film industry and these guys who do this stuff. But you're right. Like, back then, they tie a rope around you and just tell you to jump. Like,
don't worry, you have a harness. Make that jump, boy. Catch that helicopter.
So, yeah. And then, of course, there were all the guns.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and they were big.
Big machine guns.
Oh, yeah. And they would just go nuts.
They would shoot people down with a big gun.
Do you remember the fighting scenes where all of a sudden it would zero in on somebody with a big fully automatic gun, and it would literally sit there for like 3 minutes while they're all just like,
it's
just like popping it off.
You're like seeing the shells launch out of the, oh yeah.
And you're all just like, yeah, get it.
I also love how bad aim. There's a joke about like the stormtroopers, how they couldn't hit anything. I mean, eventually they hit Princess Leia's limb,
Oh, yeah.
That was a good day for a stormtrooper.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, but in those movies, they're like unloading at them with their AK-47s and they don't.
Yeah, they're just like running and there's like shots all over the ground all around them, but it doesn't actually hit them.
Don't worry, they spray on bullet repellent.
Oh, that's the secret.
It just whizzes right past them.
That's the secret.
I am invincible.
I think that maybe is the secret. I think you figured it out. I think that we also were more big on the sword play.
Sword play?
Yeah, I mean, like
sword fighting.
Look at Princess Bride. Like,
okay.
And then there was also like a lot of anything that had to do with martial arts and stuff. That always got like hardcore with the swords and the swing
nunchucks and katanas and all that.
Oh, yeah, we had that stuff going on too. But I'm just gonna say
I'm trying to think of some really good like action movies that have come out recently, other than like John Wick or
John Wick is good.
But like we did have a run there.
I know, right?
Where there was tons of them back to back.
Like
I just thought of another one that was one of my favorites as a kid, but later when I was older, because it was not a movie I'm supposed to watch. Thank you, Big Brothers. I love you so much. Thank you for exposing me to these things when I shouldn't have been watching them. You changed my life forever. But like Best of the Best.
Yeah.
That movie was hardcore.
Yeah. Well, and Predator. I'm sorry, but that one's a classic.
Can I just say that I secretly want a chain gun and I want to just go in a jungle and like mow down the jungle? I want to unload like 1,000 rounds out of this like revolving minigun and just go and like chop down trees.
Oh, and man,
it's on my bucket list.
For me, the Native American tracking guy, Like, he was my hero. I was so sad when he, like, decided to do his little knife fight. He got all ready for the hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Freaking Predator did the whole cheap, I'm going to just shoot a hole in you.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That happened a lot in the 80s action movies, too. Someone would be all, like, ready to get a fight and, like, get it on, and then someone would just be like, bam. And, I mean, sometimes it was the good guy, sometimes it was the bad guy, and sometimes it was funny, but, I mean, I'm just saying, not the coolest move on the gun shooter side. Not the coolest.
And it seems like over the last few years, too, we've had a lot of remakes, not like new...
And not a lot of ones that they felt like they could make a lot of series. I mean, like, think about Lethal Weapon. Like, didn't they make, like,
they made a
8
bunch.
of those?
They made Didn't they make 10,000 of those movies? There's quite a few.
And then they're making, like, there's that new Top Gun movie that just came out about, like, his early life or something. I don't know. It's like a prequel or sequel. I can't remember.
You haven't seen it?
No. Is it good?
It's fantastic.
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's really good. Yeah.
But that was in 86.
I waited a long time for that movie, like everyone, because initially it was going to come out in 2020, and then COVID hit, and then I got bumped. It didn't come out until just barely in May. So it was over Memorial Day weekend. But phenomenal sequel. It's great.
Yeah, and like, I mean,
highly recommend. If you liked the first movie, you'll love the second one. It's one of those few ones where the second one was actually, in my opinion, better than the first one.
Wow, that's impressive, especially when you're like messing with an old like audience who loved a classic.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to please. So if they manage that, that's amazing.
No, it's really, really good.
That's
really
awesome.
Good. Excellent job on the movie.
So, you know, like I was saying, though, a lot of the 80 movies, they made a lot of them because they were just really good. Like the Terminator. Okay, don't laugh at me. I don't think I've ever told anyone this.
And now you're going to tell everyone.
No, I'm going to tell everyone.
It'll be on all the airwaves.
Do you know how many times I have flirted with the idea of getting a tattoo that says "No fate but what we make"? I mean, that is so cool. It's so true. And it came from Terminator. I looked it up because I thought maybe they got it from somewhere cooler. And then I keep thinking, if you get that on your body, it comes directly from Terminator. And yes, Yoda. I was trying
Yoga. Stretch you want to.
Yoda said some of the wisest things.
Breathe you must.
that I ever heard in my life. There's things Yoda said where I'm like, that is so amazing. Where did they get that? But it was just Yoda. Do or do not.
Or do not.
Yes.
There is no try.
Yes, that's the best one. So I really would love to
Thank you, Yoda. That statement changed my life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not joking. It did. And that "no fate but what we make" stuck with me forever. So thank you to the Terminator.
That stuck to you. I didn't know that one. That's a new one to me.
So she carves it in the table.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember, but
I just was like, okay, I could do that.
I was apparently more excited about robots blowing stuff up, not what she carved into the table.
But yeah, like, dude, and I'm just saying, like, if I did it, there would be people who would just think that I was like a total Terminator freak.
Or there's like me who didn't notice that and would be like, oh,
that's so cool.
Oh, interesting. What's that from?
Or just, that's cool. I would hope that's what I'd get. Oh, that's really cool.
Where did you find such poetry?
I know. It's so great.
From Terminator.
Short, sweet, and from Arnold.
Yeah. No. From the man himself.
No, actually, it was from the girl. The girl in it. She's the one who threw that out.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what was her name. She was in a few things, but Linda Hamilton. Yeah. I'm so good. I feel like I should be.
That's the actress name?
Yeah. The one who was his mother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's hardcore.
Dude. Heck yeah.
There's an example of another hardcore chick.
Yeah, you're right.
That started out as a normal damsel in distress.
You're right.
Right?
Oh, snap. You're right. I wonder which one came out
She became
first.
super bad A.
Let me use my eyeballs.
The original Terminator.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because she was because she was kind of more damsel-y, distressy back then. But
no, it started out that way, but she became hardcore because she was forced to be in the circumstance where she's being hunted.
True.
And they keep sending all these people killers back in time to stop her from...
I'm just going to say, I think Ripley was a little more, I don't know, like badass at the beginning. Like she was a little more tough than... But yeah, you're right. And guess what? I can honestly say Aliens. I don't have Alien right in front of me to say, but Aliens came out after Terminator. Because Terminator came out in 1984.
Yeah, but Alien came out in the late 70s.
Yeah, and she was I still feel like she was tougher in that.
I'm trying to remember. The original Alien, I think it was like 78 or 79.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not like, we don't need to go on that trail again.
They're both OGs, all right?
Yes, they are.
Crazy badass ladies from the 80s.
And they also both had a whole bunch of movies that they just kept getting put in because the movie wouldn't be the same without them. And so let's cheers to those ladies.
Cheers to the ladies.
Cheers to the ladies out into the universe.
You know what's also really good? If you were into like karate movies, you'd have these ones that are like dubbed in English. And then that's where this time frame, the 80s and early 90s, is where like the dubbing was really bad. And their lips moving, they're like, you can't see my lips, but I know you picture where they're like, you are going to die.
Yeah, in their mouth.
I'm going to take your life. You will never come back from this. Yeah. And their lips are still moving.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, are they like moving weird? You're right. Guess what else? There was also those ones that got really popular that were pretty cheesy, like Escape from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not going to lie. I freaking love Kurt Russell. He's amazing.
You know what? I watched that movie so long ago and haven't watched it again that I hardly remember anything. I remember it was kind of like Mad Max meets California. No, wasn't it?
It's New York. Escape from New York.
Oh, well.
I think you get extra points this time.
I'm sure there's a place called California in New York.
You will not live that down.
Speak to me, New Yorkans. Save me from my embarrassment.
I'm New Yorkin.
Yorkin. New York in New York.
I personally apologize to all New Yorkers out there for the New Yorkin that was just spoken.
We're just out to say stupid stuff and offend people,
But
it's my life goal.
We love New Yorkers. They're very blunt and to the point, but they're there to help if you need it. You've never been
to the town of California in New York? There ain't no palm trees there, but it's California.
Oh.
Okay, well, I'm just going to...
Oh, yeah.
Producer, can we get an edit for the last 4 minutes, please?
No, you're good. I'm actually glad. That was amazing.
Gosh.
And then, we got Beverly Hills
Wait, but
Cops.
wasn't there like a follow-up one that was like Escape from L.A.?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where the California came from. I'm not totally mad. Right?
Wait, what was I going to tell
See?
you? Was I going to tell you?
You didn't even try and validate that. You're like, yeah, you're an idiot. You don't even know where that came from. California, what are you talking? Yeah, that was an Escape from L.A.
I was having fun laughing at you.
Oh, I just slapped my thigh pretty hard and it kind of stung. It was like, bye, George. Ow.
Good job.
Slaptastic.
Okay, and then we also had back to the sword play, Conan the Barbarian. What about
not Conan the Late Show?
No. And wasn't there Sonia, who was the female version of Conan, and she was a redhead? Black Sonia or something. I think I remember idolizing her as a child. Because I was a girl. I was all yeah, you go beat those barbarians.
Who wouldn't want to watch a muscular dude wield a big freaking sword and slay the bad guy?
And he womanized like crazy in that. I'm just going to say there were
are they
sex slaves. Now you couldn't get away with that.
No, there was a lot of sex.
Think about it. You could not get away with that. They were bringing women in to breed with him, to breed slave fighters. If you put something like that on the screen, this is terrible. This is so sexist and wrong.
Well, it depends. Okay, all right.
I think it would happen.
Okay, so I want to talk about a follow-up movie from the 80s that actually was good.
Do it.
Mad Max. Glory Road.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed that film.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't watch it yet. Is that the one that had Charlize Theron in it?
Yes.
Okay.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. And she can act.
I love Charlize Theron.
Me
She's
too.
in a lot of great movies.
Yeah. And, you know, there
That,
was...
what was that? Whatever, Electric Blonde, or what was that show that came out a couple years ago?
It was...
She was hardcore in that movie.
Electric Blonde, wasn't it? Yeah, that was awesome. It had a good soundtrack, too.
And she was, you know,
She was a spy.
fighting the bad guys.
Yeah, definitely. She was doing it. She was
It was
doing it.
was in Germany, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she was...
Or Berlin, but near the Berlin
she was
Wall.
all over, but yeah, it was during the Berlin War. But
The
she was
Cold
like,
War.
I think they made a second one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but Mad Max Glory Road, I actually recently watched that again on my flight. It was part of the in-flight free entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Cancun, Mexico with my wife earlier part of this year.
Getting it.
And yeah, that one was on.
Heck yeah. In Cancun, that's awesome.
Some of these movies they put on there, though, I'm like, what if you had like some 5-year-old kid sitting right next to the person who's watching the movie?
They wouldn't have a problem with it. It's Mexico.
I mean, you got earphones on
okay.
so they can't hear it, but there's a lot of traumatizing imagery on that screen.
Oh my goodness, excuse me. No, but did you know that Charlize was in an interview for that movie, and so an interviewer asked her how she found the rage to play that role,
The inner ferocity.
and she looked at him and she said, "You know, girls, they get mad and they have rage too."
Yeah, you ever seen a cat
I
fight?
don't have to talk
I don't even
myself
want-
into that.
I don't want to get my hair pulled out.
Girls scare me. Like they fight dirty.
It can be vicious. Well, see, guys will just punch each other.
Yeah.
The women will do like the mental warfare that destroys your soul.
And if they attack you, they're like coming at you with like claws. They'll like try to rip your shirt off and pull out your hair. I mean, like I never had one of those fights, but I saw them and I'm like, that's like brutal. I'm sorry.
I think I'd rather get decked by a
I can see
dude
why they call it a
than
cat
slapped
fight.
really hard by an angry woman.
Oh, I've seen guys like knocked to the
Put you
ground.
in a
by
coma,
that.
man.
Yeah, like dang. Talk about slap. Oh, and you know, Chuck Norris, we've got Cobra, 1986.
Oh man, that's like legit.
Yeah, and
Can you imagine?
Endless
I
bullets.
can already see the sunglasses he's wearing
Oh,
on,
yeah.
on the
Oh, yeah.
cover of that movie.
Oh yeah. And like that was another thing. Sunglasses were huge on action guys in the 80s.
Yeah, they never wear them anymore now.
Yeah, that is something that's gone. Like that was a thing.
I was
That was
totally
special.
I was totally being sarcastic.
I don't really see
Now
it
I'm
much
gonna be
in
out,
my-
I'm gonna be out watching a show.
Will they put on the sunglasses?
I'm just saying.
Is it legitimately an 80s thing? I must watch. I must find for myself. I must discover the truth behind this. It's important.
Yeah.
Sunglasses.
Yeah.
Does John Wick wear sunglasses?
Does
Does he wear his sunglasses at night? Well, Corey Hart. Speaking of 80s.
Yeah.
You also had some good comedy action flicks. We talked about Lethal Weapon, but you had like Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh yeah.
Little Axel F.
Oh,
You know I know you all know that song.
Yeah.
Now that I've like, you know,
Now it's in their head.
now you're gonna for an hour you
Yeah.
walk on and the drums were like anyway.
And they'll be like, Mikey. You know, and then we also had the Octopussy came out in 1983, and I just want to say, I don't know how they got away with that title.
That was still Sean Connery, right?
At that point, no, it was Roger Moore, Maud Adams, Louis Jordan, and
nothing-
Christina Wayborn. Because
So-
it was in the 80s. He
so-
was the 81 with the dark,
I
hairy
remember.
chest.
His name is Roger, though.
Yeah, I believe, yes.
That's a really cool name.
I know.
Roger.
No, come on, he was so cool. And like I remember he always had like his hairy chest exposed and he had that dark hair over and he was like, you know.
Magnum PI.
And that's another thing I feel like they showed off during the 80s was the hairy chest.
And the mustaches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have a goatee right now. Maybe I should shave the bottom part.
Oh yeah,
so I can creep my wife out.
And then you have to put on the sunglasses.
Yes.
But they have to be the big round ones like they wore, you know? You know the ones I'm
they're called aviators.
Thank you.
So they have to be the big round ones. They're called aviators, Lele. Aviators.
Sorry.
I actually, you know what? I'm not that cool anymore. I have corrective lenses.
Oh, yeah?
My version of sunglasses are my transition lenses on my current glasses.
Hey, if it
I
works.
walk outside and I'm instantly cool.
Yeah, if it works. And then, we had Tango and Cash. That was a funny one, and it was good.
You know what?
Do you remember that one?
That one I don't
loved
remember.
That. Oh.
You have to remember, I was born in 84.
This was 89.
I was 5 years old. 5.
Okay, it's valid.
At that point in my life, I'm watching He-Man and Casper the Friendly Ghost, all right?
I mean, I learned a lot from them, and especially G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And now you know. And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe, real
Joe.
American hero. Yeah. But one thing, because we talked about like movie covers.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us from that era through the 80s and 90s still have imprinted images of movie covers? Because we would go to the movie.
Oh, yeah.
We would go to
Blockbuster.
I remember when I was younger.
Do you remember Blockbuster?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Hollywood Video, Blockbuster. Oh, yeah. But, like, I remember walking down always past the horror aisle. Uh-huh. And the action. Because those were two things that I didn't get to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Until later in life. So I vividly remember some of these movie covers.
Like
Gremlins.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the claw
with the
over the girl's face. I was always like, oh, look at that.
My interest is piqued.
Yeah. And trying to sneak like a movie in with the ones that your mom's let you pick.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh yeah, I was in the, PG section. I don't know if you ever did that.
I was the angel, all right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was the one who was like, yeah, I did it.
All I know is when my friend turned 17 that was older than me, we lived at the movie store. It's like, okay, every bad movie we ever were interested in, we have to flood our minds with garbage now. We have to see it all.
Oh, yeah.
All the horror movies, all the action movies, all of them.
Oh, yeah. So, we should finish this up about now, but I just thought it would be fun to revisit those, and like we had our like main guys, like nobody can deny that like the top 3 that were like, just like would pop into your head instantly, even though there's others that were like very close behind, were Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and Sylvester Stallone. You know, they were just like the action guys.
They were big ones.
Yeah. Well, and they mostly just did action at that time. So like other people like Harrison Ford and different people like that kind of crossed over into other things. But those guys were like always the big screen, like straight up action. You just knew when you went in and it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that like stuff was going to blow up. There was going to be a lot.
Big explosions. Lots of action.
Yeah, it was going to happen.
Lots of bad guys snorting coke.
Yeah. And Sylvester, he was always going to get like a bloody lip.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You had to have that,
Same thing with Jean-Claude. You
Yeah.
have the gash on the forehead that's bleeding.
Yeah, but like though I remember in my childhood, like those 3 were like the ones that were like the most prominent. Yeah.
Idolized.
Yeah. And like all of those movies, you'd go and you'd watch them and you didn't think about anything else. You were just drawn in on that action and it would take you there. And, I feel like there's really good movies that still come out now. But I feel like, and it might have been just because I was young, so I was like being introduced to,
it
at a
comes
certain
back
age.
to the when I was your age thing.
Yeah.
That people from the generation after us or before us went through the same trend.
But, I just want to say, though, I show those movies to my kids.
Oh, they're awesome.
They are just as impressed, even with the, chick who looks like he's probably guy on that motorcycle doing that trick. Like they notice and laugh about it, but they still think it was like awesome. Because I just want to say, like, when you didn't have all this special effects to lean on, and all that stuff, they had to focus a little more on the story, or they had to focus on like making things look as real as possible without that.
Yeah.
So it was like you could see that effort. And yeah, there were people who died. I think they said, you know, there was like 37, you know, like stand-in guys who died and
stunt doubles and everything.
I'm like in the 80s.
Is that one of the numbers you saw when you were looking into this?
I was just trying to like kind of look more into their.
To all those who died in the service of entertainment,
Yeah, you know,
we salute you and your families.
Yeah, Wikipedia was actually like, this guy died trying to jump onto a helicopter. This guy died trying to jump off. This guy jumped off a building. That's where he got the 33 feet.
Oh.
And it was supposed to land on one of those like air.
Yeah, didn't work out.
No.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I was just trying to check it because I was thinking about, when I was thinking of this, I'm like, dude, our stunt guys from back then didn't have, like, they were just doing it.
Hardcore.
So, I want to give a special shout out to the stunt guys I never knew.
Yep.
And I want to give a shout out to the movies that will always be awesome, always be classic. Last Action Hero was amazing.
You know what? I actually was thinking about that movie, but didn't mention it yet. Loved that movie. And I actually, a lot of these movies, I need to show my kids. And you're right. They watch them and they're like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
They're like, that was made forever ago and it was cool. And I'm like, yes, it was cool. When did that come out, Dad? How old were you? I was 5.
Do you know what I love? I love when people are like, oh, that's vintage. And I'm like, wait a minute. And we used to say stuff from like the 60s was vintage. And I just decided that I thought that it was an actual time period based word. But I think vintage just basically means old.
No, it just means old.
And so
classic.
And I've heard that about 80s music, 80s movies. And
well, now even 90s and early 2000s for my kids. So
I don't know. What does that mean? Are we vintage?
Hey, it doesn't matter how old you are. Cool is cool. And the 80s movies were fantastic. Action is there. Until next time, peoples, we appreciate you. We love your listenings that you do to us.
Good night, and thank you for listening to our rambles.
Get to the chopper!
Get away from her, you.